Well, it's just after 7 p.m., which means we're taking a closer look at one issue in our Zoom In segment. And tonight, we're discussing the state of South African municipalities. Last week, the Auditor General, Kimi Makwetu, released the annual Municipal Audit Report, which paints a grim picture of what the state of our municipal finances really is. Our news producer, Joan Marie Farouf, filed this report.
In the Auditor General's report, only 18 of the 257 municipalities achieved a clean audit. This reveals a significant decline in the number of municipalities that are doing well financially.
If you look at the total amount of work that we did as an audit office in 2015-2016, that triggered about 48 municipalities that were clean. In the following year, 2016-17, last year, there were about 33. They are now 18, which means that there's a significant reversal in the number of municipalities that have continued to achieve negative audit outcomes.
And that reversal is evident in the number of municipal statements that can actually be audited. Of the 9 provinces, only 6 submitted usable documents. The Western Cape had the most clean audits and the Eastern Cape performed the worst. While 18 municipalities received clean audits, this doesn't mean that all others are functioning poorly. It's important to note that there are different types of audit outcomes. The Auditor General says municipalities that provide quality financial statements and performance reports, as well as comply with key legislation, receive clean audits. Municipalities receive financially unqualified audits when they provide quality financial statements but report unreliably on whether performance targets have been achieved. And municipalities that are unable to produce reliable financial statements, documentation on performance targets, and that don't comply with key legislation receive adverse audits. Makwetu said this is often due to a lack of accountability and oversight, adding that a number of municipalities lack the necessary skills to run their finances effectively. John Marie Farouf, OpenNews, Cape Town.
Well, for more on this, we're joined now by Julius Mojapelo from the South African Institute for Chartered Accountants. Thank you so much for joining us, Julius, and a good evening to you. First things first, when you saw the report coming from the Auditor General, your first thoughts?
Yeah, it's a disappointing state that we find the municipal finances in. I mean, the deteriorating levels of financial health is also one great cause for concern, because this affects the municipality's ability to pay suppliers when they become due. And as we know, this results in a lot of infrastructure projects and service delivery projects that are left halfway through the stages, and then the citizens are the ones that suffer the most. Another challenge is the high level of irregular expenditure. It's still very high, in above 20 billion. And I think that is more or less undermining the intentions of economic development, because irregular expenditure basically means processes were not followed in how procurement was done, and therefore tenders could have been given to people that do not necessarily deserve them in terms of the intentions of government to empower a certain specific groups in South Africa. So it's a very disappointing state to look at.
Yeah, you know, you talk about the irregular expenditure and you say 20-odd billion. And in fact, it's 25 billion rand. 5 billion is a very big margin. It's a lot of money that's going through the system. And you talk about patronage. I wonder how much of it also has to do with the lack of skill within our municipalities to actually keep clean books.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you don't have the right people in the right places, this kind of results are going to become a norm. And as we know, they have become a norm. So recently, we have noted as well that only about 32.6% of chief finance officers in municipality meet the minimum competency levels that have been set by National Treasury. So to us, a lot of this don't come as a surprise, because we need a serious professionalization agenda to be able to have the right people that can handle such big monies on behalf of the citizens.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to give us a little bit of education here, and I think we tried to clarify as well in the package that we just played. Perhaps if you could really break it down for us in layman's terms. It is 18 out of 257 municipalities that have received a clean audit, right? That number is quite self-explanatory. In between that, though, and underneath that, there is the unqualified audit and the qualified audit as we go down, you know, the list there, right? What is the difference between those two audits?
Yeah, I think the clean audits is the one that most people would know about, and that is where the Auditor General says almost everything is clean. And then as you start going on the other extreme end, there is an opinion called a disclaimer opinion. I think this is where the Auditor General gets into the municipality and they say we cannot even audit this municipality. So documents are not existing, they cannot find them. So that is really the other extreme end of the opinion. And then in between, you find yourself with an adverse kind of result. This is where the Auditor General says to the citizens, I got in there, I audited, but management says the financial statements are one thing, and I'm saying they are another, in a way that I feel like the financial statements are of no use with these disagreements that we have with management. And as a result, they'll give you a adverse opinion. The ones that we really look at, which are in the middle ground, is also the qualified with findings, and then you also have the unqualified with findings. This is really the middle ground where you find that the municipality managed to get a few numbers right, but they are unable to comply with a lot of laws or regulations, or their performance report that they've presented are either not reliable, or, you know, the accuracy of the information they are giving the citizens is not really up to scratch.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And it's a gray area there that we need to clarify. But I'm more interested in what we do now. You know, we look at the municipalities, and the conversation we have in the country is municipalities led by this political party perform better than municipalities led by that political party. But surely there are specific elements that are necessary for a municipality to receive a clean audit. What are some of those, and how much of it has to do with previous leadership in a municipality that has just made a mess of the books?
Yeah, I think the first point is to really make sure that you've got the right people in there. I mean, one indicator that we need more support to upskill the staff that are in the municipalities, the high level of use of consultants in municipalities, where we would expect that there would be qualified people in there to be able to do the day-to-day business of a municipality. So the first point is really to make sure that we properly capacitate from the bottom right to the top. Because the other challenge you have that the Auditor General has raised is a lack of consequence management. It means the problems are being found out, but the powers that be, the oversight structures, are not doing what they are required to do to deal with consequences where wrongdoing is found to be happening. So I think that will be another starting point to say, once we've got the right people in there, it's easy to hold them accountable to enforce consequences. So I would say that is the area where we actually need to focus on.
All right, you talk about enforcing consequences. It's something that the Auditor General touched on as well when he released this report, essentially talking about the Public Audit Act. And if that's going to, and he was hoping that's going to lead to some sort of accountability. Are you confident in the weight and the powers that the Public Audit Act actually gives the AG?
Yeah. I think the Public Audit Act, I mean, it's not the all that it's not it's going to solve everything, but it's a good start. It's a good extension to the legislation we already have in terms of the financial misconduct provisions of the Municipal Finance Management Act and also the Public Finance Management Act. So what this does, it just allows the Auditor General to get into the thick of things as well, because for one, it allows the Auditor General to give remedial actions that are binding. Whereas currently the Auditor General's report year in, year out, it shows adverse results, but honestly, we think they are just being ignored. So remedial actions are going to make sure that they are binding and they are legal, and the entity will have to comply with them. So I think that is the first step that we should celebrate in terms of the amendment to this legislation. But the second one is that the Auditor General will further be able to refer matters for investigation. So where the matter can't be concluded on the audit, the Auditor General could refer matters to institutions like the Public Protector, the SIU, and then there's SAPS as well, where they could investigate these matters further. So I think this is really a good piece of legislation. Unfortunately, as we know, that the challenges are much greater than just legislation. So we still have a human capacity issue that we need to resolve. But I think it's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, so let's leave it there. I really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Julius Mojapelo, Senior Executive for Public Sector at SAICA. They're keen to hear your thoughts on what it is that we need to do beyond the legislating of the Public Audit Act to hold municipal managers and the heads of municipalities to account when we have massive amounts of irregular expenditure. One thing that's happening in KZN, or a discussion at least that's taking place, is the MEC for COGTA in KZN, Sipho Shomuka, has warned that no bonuses should be paid to municipal leaders who will have to then pay out of their own pockets if their audits aren't clean. What do you make of that? Is that enough accountability? At OpenNews SA to share your thoughts or send your voice notes to 082 777 0735.